Now at 5, parts of southeast Kansas receive a grant aimed at improving broadband internet access. Plus, Marion Days brings tens of thousands of visitors to Carthage, Missouri. We're going to see how everyone is housed during the event. And
senators grilled top law enforcement officials about the security failures leading up to the assassination attempt on former President Trump. I'm Skyler Henry on Capitol Hill detailing the fiery hearing.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A plea today in a horrific area kidnapping and murder case that drew national headlines. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. 44-year-old Amber Waterman of Pineville, Missouri, had been accused of kidnapping and killing an Arkansas woman in order to take her unborn child. Today, Waterman pleaded guilty to 1 count of kidnapping resulting in death and 1 count of causing the death of a child in utero. The victim was Ashley Bush. She was 31 weeks pregnant when she was lured to a meeting with her killer in Maysville, Arkansas back in October of 2022. Waterman had contacted Bush through Facebook, offering the possibility of a job. After her disappearance, authorities responded to reports of a baby girl who was not breathing in the Pineville, Missouri area. That child died. Waterman first claimed she had given birth to the child, but later admitted it was Bush's baby. While searching Waterman's property, authorities found the burned remains of the mother. An autopsy indicated Bush had died of penetrating trauma of the torso, and the death was classified as a homicide. Waterman now faces a mandatory sentence of life in prison without parole for each death. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy for a first look at the weather.
Well, of course, another super hot day outside for us today. Temperatures up into lower 90s. Could have been worse if we didn't have the cloud cover sticking around for a good chunk of the day. 90 in Joplin, 92 is where we stand in Pittsburgh. So lower 90s on the Missouri side, and then once you get into Oklahoma and Kansas, look at our temperatures. They shoot mid to upper 90s to near 100 degrees. Plus, on top of that, our heat indices are up there, upper 90s, southwest Missouri, and then triple digits once you get out across Kansas and also Oklahoma. Excessive heat warning until tomorrow evening. Also heat advisories, which are in effect as we go through the next couple days. You can see the clouds kind of working through and a couple light, tiny little showers. Not a big deal, but we are going to have a few out there as we go through the evening. We'll slide back through the 90s, 80s to near 80 later on tonight. Heat gets worse. We're going to look at that here in a bit.
Catch in a few. More families in rural Kansas will have access to reliable internet. Qualcomm is a Kansas internet provider. They received a $950,000 grant to provide broadband access in Allen and Coffee counties. It's intended to allow for telehealth, online education, remote work in more rural communities.
Over 90% of an area that residents just do not have basic internet connectivity, which is very difficult to imagine, but nonetheless is a very serious problem in many of our rural communities.
SOFR expects Allen County to be connected to broadband by the middle of 2025. The Carthage Water and Electric Plant celebrates new renovations to its transmission line. The plant today hosted a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Officials say the 69 kilovolt transmission line renovations will help them keep the power on for the thousands of customers they serve.
It has a lifespan to it, and this was getting closer and closer to its end of life, and for us we felt it was proper to move forward with the replacement of this so that we could get additional capacity off this line and then have and stabilize our future growth potential in the system.
During the ceremony, the plant also recognized a pair of retirees who worked on the original transmission line way back in 1961. The first Thursday in August brings more than just heat. It also signals the start of Marion Days. The annual Vietnamese Catholic event draws in tens of thousands of visitors to Carthage, Missouri every year. The event officially starts in a couple of days, but organizers and hundreds of volunteers are already in town. Many of them choose to camp in tents in neighborhoods surrounding the campus of the Congregation of the Mother Co-Redemptrix. Others prefer an option with air conditioning, packing hotels and Airbnbs.
All the hotels in the 4 cities around here are packed. So they packed like April, since in the April 1st when they opened up for people to reserve, that's when they every hotel is packed.
Some Carthage residents open up their homes to visitors during Marian Days. Tonight at 6, we're going to talk with one host who says she does it for the cultural experience. Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe was called to Capitol Hill to answer questions about the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Some new evidence came to light during the Senate hearing, but lawmakers also expressed lots of frustration over what they perceive as a lack of answers and accountability. Skylar Henry has more details from Capitol Hill.
Senators grilled Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe for several hours in an at times contentious hearing about security failures leading up to the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump.
What more do you need to investigate to know that there were critical enough failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable?
I acknowledge this was a failure of the Secret Service.
Is it not prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days,
Then
just like you
fire
have.
somebody.
FBI Deputy Director Paul Abate testified local police had been following the suspicious person, later identified as gunman Thomas Crooks, for up to 90 minutes prior to the shooting, and spotted him again on a rooftop with a gun 30 seconds before he opened fire.
If we'd had that information, they would have been able to address it more quickly. It appears that that information was stuck or siloed in that state and local channel.
While the shooter's motive remains unknown, the FBI says it found a social media account that belonged to Crooks that included comments that were anti-Semitic, anti-immigration, and called for political violence.
If it is in fact the shooter that posted these comments, it's the first real indication where he's expressing what are described as extremist views and talking about political violence.
Some Republican senators pushed the Secret Service head about reports the agency turned down protection requests from the Trump campaign.
I believe that the Secret Service leadership made a political decision to deny these requests.
Senator, what I will tell you is that Secret Service agents are not political.
Okay, you're not answering my question. But you know what? Leadership appointed by the president, leadership appointed by the president is political.
The Senate committees say they have more questions and want to talk to agents who were on the ground the day of the shooting. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Acting Secret Service Director Rowe says the shooter was a loner who was, for whatever reason, fixated on attacking the President of the United States and had looked at both President Biden and former President Trump. The U.S. Senate took social media platforms to task today, voting in favor of bipartisan legislation to protect children and teens online. Senators overwhelmingly supported the bill, calling this first major tech reform legislation in decades a new era of accountability. Parents of children who died by suicide or have otherwise been harmed online have been advocating for change for years. Still ahead, finding a place to stay in Paris.
Hotels are busy and buzzing here in Paris for the Olympics. I'm Wendy Gillette with a French take on luxury as we tour a few of the city's fanciest accommodations.
And next in Health Watch, how a robotic arm is giving a woman a newfound sense of independence. Topping today's Health Watch, the diabetic and weight loss medication semaglutide such as Ozempic and Wegovy might show promise to help people quit smoking. A study in the Annals of Internal Medicine shows semaglutide used in smokers with type 2 diabetes was associated with a lower risk for smoking-related healthcare utilization, including prescriptions for smoking cessation drugs and counseling. Researchers say clinical trials are needed before any expanded use of the drug is advocated. A Pennsylvania mother is grateful to have more independence now that she's been fitted with a new robotic arm. Reporter Stephanie Stahl has more on that technology.
Getting around is challenging for Victoria Nedza, who has a rare form of muscular dystrophy. But it's getting easier now with this helper.
It has enabled me to be more independent.
It's an invention created in the robotics engineering lab at Widener University.
It's one of the early iterations, should we say, for the claw.
2 graduate occupational therapy students and a professor were eager to help a stranger who reached out on a whim.
And they're really receptive and responsive right away.
The challenge was to create a robotic grabbing device.
This is the design of the reacher.
The ones available commercially didn't work for the 39-year-old mom.
I always used to ask my son to stop what he's doing to come and help mom grab something. I didn't want to be a burden on him.
Being able to give her that sense of independence was a great feeling.
The Widener team got busy on the drawing boards and fired up the 3D printer.
It's pretty great knowing that we were able to help somebody with something that you can't get off of Amazon or you can't buy it anywhere. To be able to do this for someone means a lot, because knowing that it doesn't exist. It never has existed.
This is the touch sensor right here with my finger.
Okay.
And it opens and closes.
Victoria says the team found a way to work around her hand weakness.
They blew my mind and came up with a solution that I didn't even think of, and that works perfectly.
Picking things up off the floor is no longer a problem for Victoria.
Hopefully this product not only helps me, but other people as well.
Who is forever grateful.
Stephanie Stahl, CBS News.
The lab is now part of a community of volunteers making assistive devices for other people like Victoria. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, those massive wildfires spread further across the western U.S., burning thousands of acres of land.
Plus, the heat gets even worse as we go through the next couple days. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, of course, it turned out to be a hot one outside today, but the clouds kind of helped us out a little bit, kept most of us into lower 90s for afternoon highs. But of course, the humidity has been up there, so it feels kind of nasty outside. Nice shot. This is Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. Let's go outside. Temperatures right now, most of us are sitting upper 90s or upper 80s to near 90 degrees, and it looks like we're going to continue to see pretty good conditions, at least through the evening hours, but our temperatures, they're going to continue to go up as we go through the next couple days. Currently outside sitting at 90, south winds at about 15 miles per hour. So it's been a little bit on the windy side. In fact, we can zoom in. Look at our dew points right now. We're sitting into lower 70s. So if you pull out our dew point tracker, what that does is it puts us in that muggy to soupy range, and we're going to continue to see that as we go through the next few days. So look at our heat indices. 102 in Anderson, 106 at Grove, 108 in Veneta, 103 in Neodesha, and those will continue to go up as we go through the next couple days. Temperatures slide back through the 90s, 80s. Eventually we'll bottom out right around 80 later on tonight, but it is kind of breezy. South winds kicking in at about 10 to 20, and we've had gusts a little bit higher than that at times, and it looks like our winds are going to be gusting kind of 20 upwards of 30 as we go through the overnight hours tonight. And then again, as we go into Wednesday, our winds are going to be a little bit breezy, but that makes it moves the air around a little bit, so it makes it feel a little bit better. Excessive heat warning out through tomorrow evening, and then heat advisories after that, and this is due to those very high heat indices. We've had some clouds kind of dropping through, and we've had a few random tiny little showers. Not a huge deal. Most of these have been across southeastern Kansas, but even a couple drops is kind of nice to see. We can zoom in. Here's Chanute up to Iola over toward Yates Center. A few random light little showers, but again, overall, most of you are going to stay dry. Let's go through the evening hours. We'll drop back right around 80 for an overnight low. That's it. By noon tomorrow, lower 90s. Once we get into the afternoon, look at this. We're going to be approaching 100 degrees. It's going to be very hot, very humid. Tomorrow night, some scattered thunderstorms along the I-35 corridor. These are going to try to push in but fall apart as they do so. So the better chance to get some rain is going to be on the Kansas and also the Oklahoma side as we go through the overnight hours tomorrow night. Then on Thursday, a front sneaks in, so a few scattered thunderstorms again trying to pop up as we get into Thursday afternoon, but the heat is just going to be way up there. Day planner for you tomorrow, 80 to start, 92 by noon, 97 by 4. Look at our high temp of 99 degrees once we get into the afternoon hours. So that is going to be way up there for us as we go through the next couple days. So that's why we're going to do alert days, because heat index is kind of 105 to 110. Maybe even a little bit higher tomorrow and Thursday and the heat sticks around for at least the next week.
July, for the most part, had been relatively mild.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been too bad of a month until now.
But here we go. End of July, into August, and back to normal. Thanks, Doug. Latest on those raging wildfires in the West, where new flames have erupted in Arizona and Colorado, and the Park Fire in Northern California. Well, that one's spreading. It's now become the 6th largest wildfire ever in that state. After nearly a week of battling towering flames, the Park Fire is still raging with minimal containment. Reinforcements have arrived, and almost 5,000 firefighters are now battling that blaze. Coming up, how shoppers can benefit from Target's new denim buyback event. Up next on the CBS Evening News, important news affecting thousands of products sold on Amazon. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have more on the grant improving broadband access in part of southeast Kansas, plus how a small town in Crawford County is paying for a new fire truck, and kids in Carthage get a lesson on basketball from the Kansas City Thunder. Stay with the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. All of that coming up in 30 minutes. Doug.
Yeah, and it's going to be hot as we go through the next couple days. Alert days for us on Wednesday and Thursday with heat indices 105 to 110. And welcome back. How was your vacation?
It was great. You know, we took a trip, my wife Kay and I, and about 30 other now new friends, to 3 national parks, Glacier and Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons. It was stunningly beautiful, and I like to think that everybody there had a good time.
Hopefully it was a little cooler, too.
In some cases. It was also hot. We had a couple of hot days. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here for KOAM News at 6. Let's make it a great evening.